All right, I have seen Wonder Woman 84 or 1984, and watched it on HBO Max. After COVID and lockdowns and 2 hurricanes, there's no movie theater nearby for me to go to. And besides, my time was limited. I actually had to work. That's right, work Christmas evening. Oh, so I had to hurry up and squeeze the movie in. So I'm not going to do any spoilers. So I'll just give the overall feel and general approach to plot points and whatnot. As far as what I was concerned about, the politics of it is not as bad as I would have thought. Meaning that it's there, and I mean, obviously, as soon as you saw Pedro Pascal in the blonde wig, and Patty Jenkins herself admitted that Trump was an inspiration for this. He's actually, in some parts, a sympathetic character. He's in over his head and that sort of thing. Not particularly evil, but, ends up kind of turning evil but that's about it. There is a scene where it's a hit on Reagan, because I'm assuming it would be Reagan. He was president in 84. And this old ridiculous slam on him that he was a warmonger. People read a history book. I mean, how'd that turn out? But I guess the results of this film tell you why it really turned. He made peace with the Soviets and all that. It's tired and it's pathetic and it's just untrue. The man was not, flawless or what have you, or perfect, but he wasn't the monster that media keeps saying he was. So it just compounds the lie. And it's one of those things that can, it's a short scene. It's not that, it is pivotal to the plot ultimately, but as the consequences of the magical wish that goes on in this, everything you've heard about spoilers ahead of time were pretty spot on. So if you heard any of those, you already know pretty much how the movie turns out. It's nowhere near as good as the first one. It just isn't. But it's just not as bad as some of the elements I thought would make it terrible were. So the politics stuff, it's there, but it's not beating you over the head with it and that kind of thing. And plus, the movie didn't quite present itself in marketing and whatnot that it was completely dependent on that. Once again, another old tired yarn about the 80s as the decade of greed, as if the 70s weren't greedy, the 60s weren't greedy. People are greedy, and it's just a matter of how much you want and how much you can rein it in. And of course, the core of the film is a message about you can't have it all, and there's consequences and all this stuff, and that's why you can't have it all. And ultimately, pursuing everything you want is not necessarily a good thing. So that's, pretty clear. But yeah, well, the 80s, right? Yeah. Some elements of it, as one of these period pieces, doesn't quite hit it, and other times it kind of does. I mean, even the whole plot of it could have been an 80s comedy movie, this sort of thing, and I could see that happening, especially with Steve coming back and all that sort of stuff. There's some interesting things, but the thing about with Steve, there's a lot of, it's just sort of rushed in, and you could see where there's a whole lot of stuff that needs further explanation. The ultimate ending of it and how Diana ultimately defeats Max Lord, on the one hand, some part of it makes sense and works. On the other, it really doesn't. And there's attempts and elements in here to make her story still fit within the DCEU, narrative set by Batman versus Superman, where nobody knows who she is and all this sort of stuff. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of messy in some elements. So there's good moments. There's some pretty good action. Some of the CGI is a little over the top to the point of, in which is a similar criticism of the last one. But still, you know, and there's some things that are, if you know Wonder Woman comics, certainly about her ability to fly and stuff like that is there and seeks to it. There's also a nod to the invisible plane, so we get that. The Amazon scene, I kind of, you know, wondered if, would she, would they get back to Themyscira and all that, but it's the opening scene on Themyscira it's not bad. It's pretty cool, and it's more of those elements of the Amazons. I can see why Jenkins was pushing for a side project about the Amazons and some of the, you know, but you got to have a cohesive story there and more foundation to it. And this one, I don't know if this was the best way to go. So it's not horrible. It's not bad to the point that it made me angry. It's not like it's that big of a letdown, but it's just not very good. It's not, and it certainly pales in comparison to the first one. The performances are fine. They're all pretty good. Like I said, Max Lord's supposed to be the villain, but he's kind of this sympathetic and sometimes kind of an idiot guy. Poor Barbara Minerva, who becomes Cheetah, which is really kind of lackluster. There's not a whole lot to that ultimately, and her story is kind of predictable how she's, but it's performed well. Kristen Wiig does an okay job doing that. It's just kind of, I don't know what they're going to do with that, if there's a way for her to return, because Cheetah is, you know, is Wonder Woman's main arch nemesis, and, you know, and this is it. That's all she gets, you know, whereas, you know, Lex Luthor and the Joker are always showing up, you know. So, I don't know. It looks like this is it. I mean, as it goes. You know, and I know this thing got reshot. I know because it was supposed to have originally debut in 2019, and then got delayed and shoved to the, you know, sometime this year, which got pushed and pushed and pushed because of the lockdowns and whatnot, and ended up on Christmas. So I think maybe there was some elements that just aren't there anymore or didn't quite fit or something. I know it, but I don't know. Some of it was fun, but just not enough. I just kind of, I'm not sure what it is that's missing. Plus, I mean, there's a lot of things here. That's not Max Lord from the comics. That's not what he does. That's, you know, he doesn't develop any of the power that he actually has in the comic books. And all along, I thought there was, when she was in Batman versus Superman, and before I saw it, I didn't know it. Oh, they're going to reveal that she's like some secret agent for the government. Like, that's one of the elements from the comics that's happened for Diana Prince. And I kind of wondered if that was here. And no, she's not. As for Steve Trevor and all of that, yes, it does pretty much rip off a TV series about time travel. So, okay, there you go. Probably sort of kind of spoiled things. If I get the time, I'll do more in depth about the different elements of it as to where I think it went off track and kind of failed. But even if everything was perfect with plot-wise and everything and function better, it's still kind of lackluster. It's like, you really got to check it out and see it. You really don't. That's kind of the problem with it. Gal Gadot is fine. She does a good job in it. The scenes between her and Chris Pine work really well, and it's really sad at what she ultimately has to do. And it's just like I don't know. It's just like it doesn't all come together, even though it's a good cast, and there's some cool scenes. So just kind of so, I guess. Because the best part is I thought it had the potential of being really awful, and would make me angry. It didn't do that, so it wasn't that bad. It's just not all that great. So, WW84, it just wasn't all that wonderful, I guess. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.